Now that you know that the app service plan is some kind of a compute resource where you will be hosting your applications. You can potentially save money by putting multiple applications in one app service plan. You can continue to add applications to an existing plan as well. But keep in mind that all of these applications will be consuming resource on the same app service plan. That just means that overloading an app service plan will cause potential downtime for your new and existing applications. An application is resource intensive. So if there are lots of users and lots of connectors to that application, it will spike up the CPU and memory on that app service plan and may cause potential downtime to other applications. For that purpose, let's go ahead and understand the pricing tiers we have in the app service plan. So you got multiple tiers here. You got free, shared, basic, standard, premium, and isolated. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and run this on the Azure subscription, create an app service, and then see how the pricing tier looks like. I'm currently logged into the Azure App Services. I'll click on this button which says Create App Service and walk you through the options to create a web app. And parallelly, while we do that, we'll take a look at the various pricing tiers we have. All right, so I'll select my subscription, select my resource group, let's say sales, and type my web app name. Make sure that the web app name is unique and nobody else in the world should have used the app name. So I'll call it as, let's say, creative app or something. And when I hit tab, it's going to automatically complete and do that checking for me. So if you got a green checkbox, we are ready to go. Okay, so now you're ready to publish your web application either as a runtime stack or as a Docker container as well. We'll learn more about containers and virtual machines and differences between them, Kubernetes, in the upcoming lessons in this module. For now, let's go ahead and select code and then runtime stack. You may probably select the platform on which you may want to or your programmer may want to write the application on, right? So if I select, let's say, Tomcat 9.0, my web application will be hosted on Tomcat 9.0. You may want to select operating system here, Linux or Windows. I'll choose Linux at this time. The region, I'll leave it as Central US, but then you can choose the region which is closest to the users. And then finally, coming to the app service plan section, and this is the topic of discussion we have. Now, like I said, app service plan is something that will host my web application. And once an app service plan is created, I can have multiple applications hosted on the same app service plan. By default, the SKU and the size is premium V2, P1, V2, which gives me the specs as mentioned here. But let's say I want to change this pricing tier. This is where you would see the pricing tier that I just mentioned when we started this lesson. That we got different kinds of pricing tiers categorized as dev test, there's production, there's isolated. Let's talk about these. Now, F1 is the free tier. The usage is primarily for development environments and test environments. Now, how many web applications can you host on this one, including, let's say, mobile applications and web apps and APIs that you want to run through this app service plan? The limit is 10. The maximum disk space that you get is 1 gigabyte. Of course, 1 GB may not be sufficient for 10 applications, but that's the limit. Moving to the next app plan, which is B1. It's the same use case here. You use it for dev and test environments. The maximum disk space that you get is 1 gig, but the number of web applications that you can host here is 100. So the limit, the upper limit or quota is 100 web applications, mobile, API, all inclusive. So these two plans that you see are the base plans. These are base tiers that run on same Azure virtual machines as other apps. So the concept of cloud computing is to have a common hardware for all virtual machines and for all customers as well. So some of the applications may belong to other customers. These tiers are intended to be used only for development and testing purposes. And that's why there is no SLA provided for free and shared service plans. So the F here stands for free and B stands for basic. Again, both of them are for dev and test environments. Let's move on to production workloads. Now these are designed for running production workloads. So the pricing is based on the size and number of instances that you run. You get built-in network load balancing support, which automatically distributes traffic across instances. So I would like you to go ahead and check these options like P1 V2, P2 V2, etc. And as you toggle around these, the options underneath will also change. So you may also want to check it additional options. For example, S1, S2, and S3. S stands for standard and P stands for premium. When we talk about premium service plans, these are designed to provide enhanced performance for production applications. These premium plans have faster processors, SSD storage, and they have lots of memory ratio as compared to the standard ones. These premium plans also support higher scale via increased instance count while still providing all the advanced capabilities found in the standard plan. So that is standard and premium. Let's move on to the isolated section. So wherever you see I1, I2, and I3, they just mean isolated. What does that mean? The isolated service plans are designed to run mission critical workloads. These are required to run in a virtual network. The isolated plan will allow customers to run their app in a private, dedicated environment in an Azure data center using DV2 series virtual machines with faster processing, solid state drives, and lots of memory as compared to the standard ones. The private environment used with an isolated plan is also called as app service environment. Now, if you start looking closely at these features here, I just randomly clicked on I1. It just says that it's going to run within your own virtual network. That means you will have some control on the security groups, the routing, etc. And everything that the virtual network offers, including DNS, subnets, and all those nitty-gritties of a virtual network. Another thing to know is that when auto scaling happens, it will scale up to 100 instances. And that's not the only limit. You will get more than 100 instances if you request for it. 100 instances is just a upper limit or a quota assigned per subscription, but this can be modified upon request. To summarize this, you got basic plans, production workloads, which are then categorized as premium and standard, and then isolated for running your mission critical workloads that needs to have its own private network while getting the compute power like faster processors, solid state disks, and more memory per instance allocated per application. Now that we understand this, let's go ahead and understand app service scaling in the next lesson.